Criminal, illegal aliens are being given pass after pass after pass, and while I'm well aware Democrat lawmakers do not seem to care, I want to know why not. The show starts now. All right, folks, a lot of us are struggling to keep up with everyday bills. Everything is still really expensive. Credit card interest rates are insane, and most of us are carrying a balance from month to month. If you own a home, I want you to call my friends at American Financing. Interest rates have dropped into the fives, the lowest they've been in a long time, and they're saving their customers an average of $854 a month by tapping into their home's equity and wiping out high-interest credit card debt. $854 a month is like a $10,000 raise. American Financing never charges any upfront fees, and that's why they have over 7,200 Google reviews and a 4.7-star rating. They've helped thousands of customers save real money and put themselves into a better financial position. And if you call today, you may not have to make next month's mortgage payment. So call today to see what they can do for you. 866-890-8585. That's 866-890-8585. Or visit AmericanFinancing.net. So this week has given birth to an avalanche of BS, specifically involving the coddling and shielding of criminal illegal aliens that I just can't wrap my head around. First up is this little nugget of insanity. In case you forgot, about a week ago, a horde of illegals bum-rushed the Texas National Guardsmen situated to protect and defend the border. That was a hostile invasion, to say the very least. But if you thought those invaders, those illegal aliens, were going to pay the price, well, you thought wrong. Those illegals who were initially arrested for that incident have been marked for release. The magistrate judge, Humberto Acosta, ordered the release of 39 of the 200, and his reasoning that the El Paso DA's office hadn't scheduled individual detention hearings for each defendant. So in that case, Judge Treason over there decided it would be better to just release them on the honor system. Roll the tape once again of the border riot, the border insurrection, if you will. Do those military-aged males running down fencing and National Guardsmen in their successful attempt to invade our country give you the honor system is going to work vibe? But there's more. Remember when Florida Governor Ron DeSantis graciously flew those illegals to the prestigious Martha's Vineyard in 2022? You know, when they enriched the community for all of 48 hours? Well, a federal judge in Boston ruled those illegals, who have no right to be in the United States at all, can sue the charter flight company that took them there. The judge, rightfully so, dismissed any claims against Governor DeSantis, but ruled that the case can proceed against the air transport company, Vertol. These illegals, mostly from Venezuela, feel they were deprived of their civil rights because they were told they were going to Massachusetts, but not specifically Martha's Vineyard, and that no one in Martha's Vineyard had advance notice of their arrival. I mean, wow. We've got Venezuelan illegals bitching about being sent to Martha's Vineyard. Now I think I've heard it all, folks. But there's also more. Venezuelan illegals were caught squatting in the basement of a home in the Bronx. An executed search warrant uncovered a lot of really fun stuff. You want to hear? Loaded guns, extended magazines, ammo, ketamine, cocaine, and a 7-year-old child. One of those illegals has been previously arrested for attempted murder. Oh, goody. These thugs were charged with criminal possession of a weapon, criminal possession of a controlled substance, and acting in a manner injurious to a child. But here's the funnest part, y'all. All but 2 of them were released without bail. You know, it's bad enough when American thugs and felons are coddled, but now Democrat lawmakers are actively shielding criminal illegal aliens, a redundant term, by the way, from any consequences. But why? You would think even Democrats would look at all the above BS I just ran through and have just a little common sense, even if just for the optics of it. But no, they are purposefully working harder than ever before and harder than they do on anything else except for gay issues, on keeping illegal immigrant felons on the streets. And there can only be one explanation for it. They want the votes, and they want the congressional seat expansion in their districts. They are playing a long game and a numbers game, and they do not care how bad it looks now, or even how deadly it becomes for the rest of us. They want as many illegals in this country as possible, and they're not selective at all. They will take whatever they can get and whomever can check a census box or mail in a ballot. And it's really friggin' sick. The only answer to this is Donald Trump. He's the only one that can reverse this, and he's not playing around.
On day one, I will seal the border and will begin the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. And if other countries say they won't take them back, we're not going to take them back, I will say that, yeah, here they come. You're just going to hold on to your britches, because here they come. They're coming back. Congratulations.
If President Trump is reelected and accomplishes nothing else beyond the deportation of 10 million illegal aliens, he will still go down as one of the foremost leaders of our time. Joining me now to discuss this theory and more is political reporter Salena Zito. Salena, I know that you do a lot of work talking to folks in Middle America, talking to folks in swing states, and we know that immigration has skyrocketed to the number one, in some cases number two issue on the minds of voters. How confident are you that President Trump can win on the issue of illegal immigration, maybe as a single issue?
I think it's going to be very potent for him to be able to run on this. And I would also probably say inflation as well. There's still what I call the shopping cart shock, where people are throwing things, pulling things back out of their shopping cart when they can't afford them. However, on the issue of the border, this is something that is very, it crosses party lines in a way that I think DC Democrats don't understand, because, people in the middle of the country very much still believe in the tenets of criminal justice, in the fact that you should arrest criminals, people that are doing things wrong. And this is how people out in the middle of the country live their lives. I think there was in 2020, there was a challenge. COVID made things very odd in that voting year. And I think that 2024 is sort of an awakening with middle class America. And, this isn't, Democrats always say, well, it's working class whites. And it's not. I see it, and I have seen that evolution change. It's not just working class whites. It's working class everyone, no matter what color you are, because your safety and the safety of your family and the health of your community is vitally important to a voter. That's what people work very hard for, the American dream. They might not have a mansion, they might just have a humble home, but they love their community, they love where they live, and they don't want to see the sort of criminal aspect that comes from this invasion across our border. And then I will tell you, even Democrats that I know in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin, Maryland, just regular, sort of locally elected Democrats are befuddled by the elite Democrats' decision to just pretend that this isn't happening.
What's odd to me is that there's been a lot of, and as you mentioned, bipartisan outrage, at least as it comes to American people, over what's happening at our border, over the illegal immigrants, criminal illegal aliens roaming the streets that are getting out on bail. So there's two things here. There's the border invasion, and then there's these felon coddling policies that also, give a whole lot of leeway to illegals, but also just regular average American felons as well. Those are two issues that I don't see Democrats changing their tune on at all. We saw in my opening, we talked about that situation with the squatters in the Bronx. That actually combines three issues: squatting, bail reform, and immigration. But these lawmakers, and I use that term loosely, in these especially deep blue states, they're not changing course even a little bit, even though it looks bad, even though people are scared in the streets, even though they had to call the National Guard to babysit the subway system. They are not budging 1 inch when it comes to elected Democrats on the issue of immigration or on the issue of their felon coddling policies, which makes me feel like they're not worried that this is going to be an election issue, or they think that there are bigger issues that they can win on and they don't have to budge on this. What do you think about that? And are you seeing that at all when it comes to the swing states and how maybe Democrats aren't as scared as they should be?
Well, with the exception of John Fetterman, and I did an interview with him a couple weeks ago, and he said you cannot have the size of Pittsburgh, which is where both of us are from, just coming across the border with no vetting, with no understanding as to who these people are and what their intent is. So I think Fetterman is the exception. He's been vocal about it. He doesn't really care what his party says when he is vocal about it. But, I think that the Democrats, I know the Democrats believe that they can win on abortion. But there's a cautionary tale that I think that a lot of people need to understand. In Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan, Democrats can say they are running against Republicans who are going to take abortion rights away from them in those three very critical states. However, that is not true. It is embedded it is enshrined in the state constitution in Pennsylvania, in Ohio, and in Michigan that abortion cannot be changed. Abortion remains illegal. If there's a smart Republican out there, they can just say, we're not going to go against the law. Sorry. They believe that they can run on that. And I believe they were very successful in it in 2022. But I don't believe that they can be successful in it in 2024 because immigration, safety, and inflation are still the dominant concerns among voters.
I hope that message is getting out. For people like me and like you who watch the news, who pay attention, who know what's going on, it's easy for us to say, listen, they're not coming after your abortion rights, especially in these states, especially in blue states like California and New York. They're not going to take away your precious abortion if you vote for a Republican that wants to clean up your streets. But if you're not somebody who pays attention and you're somebody who just gets little snippets here and there from social media, I don't know if we're changing the minds of the casual voter that's going to go out and vote on weed and abortion. And that's my concern, is that these casual voters out there who don't really pay that close of attention to anything, they will go into that voting booth or they will fill out their mail-in ballot thinking two things. Democrats will give me legalized weed and Democrats will give me abortion. And that is what concerns me. I'm fearing that those people are going to somehow outnumber the Americans that are worried about crime, that are worried about immigration, that are worried about their pocketbook, the Americans that pay attention to those things. And I'm wondering if we're edging closer to the normies out there outnumbering the people that actually give a damn.
I do believe, at least my experience in the past couple of months has been that there are people, just normal center people to center right people who are most concerned about their communities. They want to be part of something bigger than themselves. And they believe that in that direction is not towards the Democrats. I'm not saying that Republicans have done everything right. However, the Democrats have done things that have unraveled the tenets that have made them feel safe, that have made them feel happy in their community. And that is very potent when you go into the voting booth.
I want to talk about RFK. He was recently on CNN. It's getting a lot of attention because he said that Joe Biden is in fact a bigger threat to democracy than Donald Trump. I want to take a look at that sound.
But do you really believe that when people talk about the threat to democracy that Trump poses, do you really think that is an equal evil to Biden?
I mean, listen, I can make the argument that President Biden is a much worse threat to democracy. And the reason for that is President Biden is the first candidate in history, the first president in history that has used the federal agencies to censor political speech, so to censor his opponent. I can say that because I just won a case in the Federal Court of Appeals and now before the Supreme Court. It shows that he started censoring not just me. 37 hours after he took the oath of office, he was censoring me. No president in the country has ever done.
So I don't disagree with him, but a lot of folks are also saying, as common sense as that sounds, that RFK is saying that will actually peel more voters away from Donald Trump than of Joe Biden. So I'm wondering what your analysis is on the RFK situation.
Oh no, I think that RFK definitely takes people away from Biden in Pennsylvania. That he has an appeal to the left that is unhappy with Biden, and so people look at that and think, oh, it's maybe the far left, right? Well, there's a lot of center left voters that I have interviewed. People can check out my website, salenazito.com, where it was sort of center left or moderate Democrats who are so disappointed or mad or frustrated with Biden that they are going to do that protest vote for Kennedy. And just in case people don't know this, in 2016, Donald Trump won Pennsylvania by, I believe, 44,000 votes. It's a narrow election. Pennsylvania will almost always be that way for the foreseeable future. However, what is interesting is that is almost the exact same amount of votes that Jill Stein got in Pennsylvania in 2016. So a lot of Democrats still are that's why they're really afraid of Kennedy in my state.
That's very interesting. These swing states are going to be interesting, obviously, to watch. I'm wondering, because you and I talked about this in the primary process before Donald Trump became our nominee, when there were still others in the race on the Republican side. And you said that maybe you didn't feel the same enthusiasm for Donald Trump leading into 2024 as you did in 2015, 2016. Now that things are settled down a bit, now that we do have our opponents matched up, I still don't think Biden's going to be their guy. But let's just go along with that. Trump and Biden. Are you starting to see the resurgence of the Trump voter as far as enthusiasm across these swing states, middle America, average folks?
Yeah, absolutely. After Iowa, which is sort of the last time you saw DeSantis peak, right? And that wasn't, even a peak. You saw just people just sort of understood that this is where they were going to go. They did have problems with Trump. A lot of it centered on frustration over 2022 and some of those Senate seats that they believe were lost because they're the weakest of the primary candidates won. But, you've seen that sort of hesitation shed. And I have a piece a couple weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, and I took a look at the 10 counties in my state that are going to make this election in Pennsylvania. And if you win Pennsylvania, that means you're winning Wisconsin, Michigan, North Carolina, and Arizona, because Pennsylvania is 5 points more Democratic than those states. And I went back to a couple voters who had told me, no way am I voting for him again. And they're back. So, and they're back enthusiastically. So, time, as they say, heals all wounds.
Yeah, I think I'm actually one of those people. I would have always voted for Trump, but I was really hopeful about Ron DeSantis. I think he would have made a fantastic candidate, but when it looked like it wasn't his time and he wasn't going to make it, I obviously am going to be ferociously for Donald Trump because he is our last option. He is our best bet, and I will do anything I can to get him reelected. I always wanted to see him reelected. I just knew it would be a rougher path to get there than maybe a Ron DeSantis. But if this is the battle we're going to have to fight, I think a lot of us that were hopeful about DeSantis or other candidates understand that we have to put all of our chips in Trump's basket and we have to go harder than ever for Donald Trump. So I hope that enthusiasm is back, and I hope that they're seeing him right now at campaign events really on message. I think he's been doing a fantastic job of calling Biden's border bloodbath, talking about immigration, talking about crime. I think that when he stays on those messages,
yes,
he's back to 2016, and that's what I want to hear. I know he's being screwed over in the courts, but I don't want to hear him tell the American people about it. I want people like me to tell the American people that he's being screwed in the courts. I want him to talk about immigration and crime, because I think those are winning issues for him. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, if he can just temper himself a bit, he can win on those.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Up until about a month before the January primary process began, I think it was January. I can't even remember now. It feels like it was 100 years ago when I was in Iowa. But he was doing too much, and you and I talked about this. There was too much of the airing of the grievances. And one of the magical parts of 2016, before the left destroyed the Make America Great Again and started using it as a slang, Make America Great Again is an aspirational message, right? Americans love being part of something bigger than themselves, and that's what Make America Again meant. Make America Great Again meant. And as he has pivoted since, I would say, right before Christmas to now, it has been about the voter, about their community, about their concerns. And when he's on that trajectory, he's very, very successful, because it's very much like when Bill Clinton used to say, "I feel your pain." I remember in 2015, him coming down that escalator and thinking, oh no, oh my gosh, what is this, right? I've been covering American politics forever. However, as soon as he began that speech and talked about the dignity of work, while most people in my professions heard something about immigrants and went off on a tangent on that, most people at home heard dignity of work, bringing your community back, securing the border. Those tenets of just the foundation of American beliefs are what put him on a trajectory to win what many people believed was an unwinnable primary and then presidential race.
It's going to be harder than it was in 2016 due to the mail-in ballots and the ballot harvesting and the month-long voting sprees, but I think it can be done if he stays on message. And I think it's more, I'm feeling more confident about it. Now, all that can change when I believe they're going to sub Biden out for someone else, but that's a discussion for another day. Salena, thank you for all your writing. It's so important for us to understand the average voter out there, and I think sometimes the average voter gets lost in the media mashup. So I appreciate everything that you do out there on the ground, and please come back before the big one in November.
Anytime. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, folks, Joe Biden forgot he declared Easter Sunday to be Trans Visibility Day, but don't worry, there are plenty of receipts. Even his selective dementia can't escape. It's time for final thoughts presented by American Financing. So like many of you, I was repulsed and disgusted when President Joe declared Sunday, March 31st, Easter Sunday, to instead be Trans Visibility Day, whatever the hell that even is. So right off the bat, let me say that the notion we need to have a special day to be more aware of trans people is absurd. How could we forget about trans rights? Trans activists literally never shut up about it. The trans community is not only very loud and very proud, but also abundantly evident. But Joe, or whomever runs Joe, is dedicated to the rainbow grift. So the proclamation was made. I saw it. You saw it. The whole world saw it. It was an official White House proclamation, also tweeted by the president and the White House. It was not tweeted out on the White House Spanish account, but that's a different story. Either way, when asked by reporters at the annual White House Easter egg roll about the proclamation, Joe said he, quote, didn't do that. He also called House Speaker Mike Johnson thoroughly uninformed for suggesting it. This week, his press secretary also attempted the mental gymnastics of a lifetime, like somehow we're all stupid.
Every year for the past several years, on March 31st, Transgender Day of Visibility is marked. And as we know, for folks who understand the calendar and how it works, Easter falls on different Sundays, right? Every year. And this year it happened to coincide with Transgender Visibility Day. And so that is the simple fact. And as a Christian who celebrates Easter with family, President Biden stands for bringing people together and upholding the dignity and freedoms of every American. Now, sadly, and it's not surprising, right? It is actually unsurprising that politicians are seeking to divide and weaken our country with cruel, hateful, and dishonest rhetoric. It is dishonest what we have heard the past 24 hours. It is untrue.
Yes, Karine, we know the date of Easter changes each year, but many of us also believe that the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus Christ in 33 AD probably takes precedence over the made-up holiday of Transvisibility Day established in friggin' 2021. It was blasphemous for Joe, or whoever thinks for Joe, to put out that proclamation as a real screw you to Christians everywhere. You know, first it was Pride Month, designated for June, but that's now become half of May, and now I guess March through July, just in case this rainbow crap hasn't been forced down our throats enough. I'm tired, you're tired, we're all tired, and those are my final thoughts. From Nashville, God bless and take care.